All right, folks, welcome to our programming module. And the language of choice is going to be Python. And as we progress through this module, we'll be looking at how do we use the commands which are available in Python to write programming codes that can get things done on the computer. Before we dive into the meat of the matter, however, I just want to kind of set the parameters under which I want us to operate. So firstly, this course is going to be much more involved than the last course I would have facilitated with most of the names I'm seeing here, I would have interacted with before. And if I have not interacted with you before, this is still vital. So this module is highly involved. It's highly involved because it's almost similar to maths. It's not maths, but the kind of rigor and practice that you have to put into it is going to be similar to the kind of rigor that you would have to put into the learning if you are doing maths. So for those of you who like to practice, like to have a challenge, then I mean, this is the module for you. And for those of you who don't really like it so much, then I'm going to encourage you to learn to like it. All right. The other thing that we need to bring up is the whole issue of the start time. So we are scheduled to begin at 6, but I suspect that persons have a little bit of difficulty reaching at 6 based on the last module that I facilitated. So are we saying that we can make it at 6, or do we want to say, let us begin promptly at 6:15 or 6:30? What is the consensus from the class?
Well, I'm always at 6, but any other time after is okay.
All right, so I'm going to take it that the silence means that we are comfortable with the 6 o'clock start time. So we will begin at 6. We will record as we go along. If it is that you are not able to make it at 6, then you will have to avail yourself of the recording. We have a whole lot of things that we will have to be covering inside of this module. As I mentioned earlier, it's a practical module, so there's going to be the need to do a whole lot of practicing. So, we want to ensure that we are on time so that we can get the benefit of whatever discussion, whatever interaction that we're going to be having. All right, so with all of that out of the way, let's just jump straight into getting things done. So as mentioned earlier, we are using a particular language called Python. And we're going to be using this language to write codes. So therefore, when we say we are writing codes, think of it as we are building an application. So for example, Microsoft Word is an application. Excel is an application. So we will be using this language, this tool, to write applications that solve problems. Albeit the applications won't be as complex as building a word processor or as building a spreadsheet, but nevertheless, the concepts that you're going to be learning are going to be sufficient enough so that you can build some simple applications. Now, there are a few terminologies that we need to clarify before we jump into the practical aspect. So let's quickly go through them. Because this is a language that you're learning, albeit a computer language, then the same considerations as if you are learning a natural language like Spanish or Latin are going to be brought to bear. So one of the things that you need to focus on is the concept of a vocabulary. And when we speak about a vocabulary, we're speaking about the valid words which exist within a language. So that's your vocabulary. And before you can communicate fluently, you need to have an appreciation of the vocabulary. What are the words which are valid and allowed within the language? The other thing that you're going to want to consider is the concept of a syntax. So the vocabulary in and of themselves are not going to be enough for you to communicate properly because these vocabulary elements have to be organized in a particular way. In other words, there are rules which govern how these elements, these words, are linked together to form valid sentences. So one of the things that we have to look at, having been exposed to the vocabulary, is what are the rules that govern how we combine these words together, these commands together, so that we can convey some sort of meaning. Which carries us to the third concept, that of a semantics. And when we talk about semantics, we're talking about the meaning. Meaning of what? The meaning of a valid sentence. So to put everything together, we want to be able to communicate to the computer in such a way that the computer knows what to do, carries out the information we have given it, and performs a particular task. And in order to do this, we must understand one, what are the valid words within the language? Two, how do we arrange these words together so that we form valid commands? And three, having formed a valid command, what is the meaning that is associated with this command? So those are the key elements of vocabulary, syntax, and semantics. So now is a good time for you to ask any question that you have pertaining to these three definitions that have been proffered. So I'll wait a minute or two. And if there are no questions, then we will proceed. All right, folks, excellent. So we are good with vocabulary, we are good with syntax, we are good with semantics. All right, what I have below is just an example, the red ball bounce. So this is, as we know, this is the language, just normal language. But as we were talking about vocabulary, syntax, and semantics, then we are saying here that within this sentence, there are valid words within the language. So we know the concept of a ball, the concept of a color such as red, an action or an activity such as bounce. We know all these concepts. And now, the way in which we put these elements together is important if we're going to communicate properly. Um, we probably would not say bounce ball the red. We probably would not place it in that order because that would not make sense to most people. But when we say the red ball bounce, then it's the same elements, but putting it in the correct order now gives us an idea of what is happening. And in a similar way, I'm saying that when we talk about the codes that we are going to write, we have to know the commands, we have to know the syntax that governs putting these commands together. And once we have done that, then there's some meaning that is going to be associated with the sentence or the command. Now it's time for us to set up temporary environment that we're going to use for maybe about 2 weeks or so as we interact with the language elements. So there are three steps that you are going to do. One, you are going to create a Windows folder. I'm assuming that everybody is using Windows. If you're not using Windows, then you can still follow along, but things might be a little bit different on your end. And so you might have to do a little bit more research in terms of getting things up and running. So one, you're going to create some sort of a folder. Two, you're going to enter the folder. And three, we need you to configure the folder. And so I'm going to just quickly demonstrate on my machine, and I'll ask you to follow along on yours. So I need a Windows folder. So I'm going to be working on my desktop. I have a folder here called project. So let me go inside of project. And once I am inside project, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just sizing down the folder a little bit. So folder, let me call it VTI underscore, we're in what, May. So May, let's say 2026. And that's just the name I am choosing to give the folder. You can choose whatever naming scheme makes sense for you. So hit enter. We have now created a folder. The second step says that we should now enter the folder. So I'm going to double click so I can enter this folder. So I'm now in the folder. As you can see, the folder is empty. But the next thing that I now want to do is I want to launch what is called a terminal. And when I launch the terminal, I will be able to work within the terminal by sending commands through the terminal. And the easy way to do this in Windows is to go to it's not really a URL, but let me call it the navigation bar up at the top. Select it, and then I'm going to type CMD, and I'm going to hit enter. And what that does is to bring me into the folder. You can see that it's the same folder name, VTI underscore May underscore 2026. If you're looking right here. So I'm in the folder, but I am now at the terminal. And once I'm at the terminal, then I can issue commands. And one of the commands that I will want to execute is going to be this command that allows us to install a tool that we're going to be using called a notebook. So Python-M pip install notebook. So that's what I'm going to execute over there in the folder. So Python-M pip install notebook. And then I'm going to press the enter key. And you'll have to give it a bit of time. It will do some installation for us. And as you see here, it is finished. So I can clear the screen, CLS. And having done that, then the next command that I'm going to execute is the second command that says Python-M or -M, and then notebook. So let me execute that next. And then I get some feedback from you to see where you are in the process. I remember your machine might run a little bit slower depending on what kind of configuration that you have. In the meantime, while this is loading up, you can indicate to me where you are in the process.
Sir, read back the commands them for me, now, please. Sir,
Which commands you're asking about? There are several commands that I use. Which one?
the first and second.
All right, so if you are getting a Python not found error, then you will need to install Python. So just go to Google and type install. Not sure why that came up. Ask it how to install Python on Windows. You will be directed to python.org. So you can just download a package that you can use to install. So you can use this, for example, the standalone installer. You can just click on that, download it, run the exe, and then you should be good in terms of having Python on your machine. So whatever we're doing here is contingent on you having Python. So I probably should have mentioned that before, Christine. Hope that helps. Yeah, back to you, Dante. What commands you talking about? Which one missed you? Okay, all right, Dante. So you're good now. Excellent. And let me know when you are up and running, Christine. And when things are okay on your machine, you should have something looking like what I have here. This is known as a notebook, a Jupyter notebook, and we will be using it for the first twice a week as we get some experience working with the commands. Once you're in the Zoom, please disconnect from the blue button so that I can keep track of those who are new in terms of entering the space. Natasha, Kevin, Jelani, David, etc., please disconnect from Blue Button. Yeah, Kevin, I spoke about that earlier when when Christine spoke about the error. So I'm saying that you need to install Python. So you install Python. Remember, I just went there. I said, go to Google, or you can just go to python.org, downloads, download the Python installer that is applicable for your operating system, and then you execute it. That should install Python. And then having done that, then you go through the steps that I have indicated here about creating the folder and configuring the folder. All right, so please give me some feedback so I can know where we are at.
Mine still running the first command, it not finished yet. Hold on, why is it?
I'm not hearing it clearly, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm
Why is it
wondering.
what?
I'm wondering because I was speaking before and there was no response.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, though. Just talk just get a little bit more volume. What's happening? All right, so some people are configuring Python, and yeah, it will take a little while depending on, as I mentioned earlier, the specs that you have on your machine, what kind of internet connection you're running, because to download and install, etc. So here's what I will do so that we can optimize on the time. I will continue to go ahead, and once you are all finished in terms of the configuration portion, then I'll give you a little bit of time so that you can execute and get up to speed to where we are at. But you should be able to follow what I'm doing as your installation is taking place and so on. So let's move ahead in that way. So I had mentioned that there were some definitions that we need to get out of the way, and I have some more definitions here. Yeah, man, whatever I said that you have to do it, just do it. It depends on your machine. So if you tell it to reboot, then reboot. because that might be setting up the path properly. So that irrespective of which folder you're in, you're able to see the Python executables. So I'm assuming that's what is happening. So I would just follow the instructions.
Yeah, what's up? Let me ask you a question. When you go inside the folder, or you get to the command line.
All right, so
you're coming across on the platform.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't get that a while ago.
Jupiter.
So let me go back. So I am at the folder. So this is the folder. So I went to the nav bar right here, and I simply type CMD. So what I'm doing is I'm going to open a command window here. So CMD and then enter. And what that does is to bring you inside the folder on a terminal line so that you can now type the instructions. In other words, it's a shortcut way of doing it on Windows. You okay, David?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So,
Thank you. Cool. Yeah, man, no problem.
What is Jupiter?
It's called a notebook, Python notebook. So it's
It
an
is a
environment.
Python.
It's a Python notebook. So it's an environment where we'll be writing Python codes and executing them in a simplified manner before we move on to using other tools like VS Code. We're writing more involved applications. So this is just for the testing so that you see how it works, how the commands operate, etc. All right, great, Kevin. So once it has been set up, and when you say set up, you mean you have installed Python, correct?
Yes, sir. Everything's set up, sir. The Jupiter.
Oh, everything.
Yes, sir. Everything's set up.
All right, so it means that you should be here on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Jupyter screen. All right, good.
Afternoon,
So
sir. Can you show me the commands again? I didn't get them.
There they are.
All right, thanks. 1 second.
Yeah, man, no problem. Just take a quick screenshot.
Yeah, I got you.
They can execute them in the background. All right. All right, so once we are here, then what we want to do is to go to File, New, and we're creating a new note. We will select the kernel, and usually whatever kernel they give you as default, you just select that. So this is just the Python executable that you would have installed. So we select the kernel. The other thing that you would want to do is to change the name. So let me cancel. Where it says untitled, so it means that your notebook right now does not have a name. So I'm clicking on it and let me call it May 12th. Note the extension is IPyNB So Python NB is notebook, and I'm going to rename. So looking up at the top, this notebook is now called May 12th. If I go back to the folder, remember this folder was empty a while ago. But if we look now, you realize that you're seeing something that says May12.ipynb. So this is the notebook that we have just created, and it's created inside of the folder that we are working in. That's what we want, which is why we went through all of that configuration at the start. Now, the notebook is going to be organized in terms of cells. And inside a cell, we can put commands that we want to execute, Python commands that we want to execute. For example, there is the concept of a variable. And a variable is simply a container that we are going to use to store data. That's what it is.
Sir, are you changing my name, sir?
Click on this here. So it says untitled. By default, you just click on that. And then you change it and click on rename.
All right, sir.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah, we can see the two commands and the other two.
You're very low. You have to talk up louder than that.
Yeah, hear me?
I hear you now.
Alright, so may I ask if I could see the two commands because Python just finished install.
We'll have to take the screenshot them quickly, you know. So when I'm telling others to take the screenshot, please, when I take the screenshot. Remember, I said we have whole heap to cover. So you can take the screenshots and then you have that working in the background while we're moving forward. Just the two commands there, just grab the screenshot.
Alright, sir, thanks.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Sir, easy to maneuver between your instruction screen and the actual application.
Yeah, which is why I said take the screenshot. If you take the screenshot, then you're good. Remember, you know, I said I don't want us to the time that you spend to install, you can be watching me doing something. I will give you back some time at the end so that you can finish up. So I understand you're going to install, put it to install, leave it, and then just focus on what I'm doing on the screen. If you don't reach there, so I say. If you reach here, so then you can watch what I'm doing, and then you do it after. I think that way allows us to kind of optimize for that. All right, so I'm going to ask that all attention is now focused on the screen so I can talk about what I'm talking about here to kind of give you a perspective. So here we have a Python notebook. And I'm saying that the Python notebook is organized in terms of cells. So we can type commands, Python commands in these cells and execute on a cell-by-cell basis. And that's one of the good things we use in this notebook as our first learning. Now, I was speaking about the concept of a variable. And I'm saying that a variable is some container that we can create within the language so that we can store information inside of it. And what we want to look at now is how do we go about creating variables? So we have some examples here. I have a variable, I'm calling it name. And inside of that variable, I'm going to store my name. And I have another variable here, or a container called store. And inside of that, I am going to be storing some number. So I'm going to do something similar to this over in the Python notebook as a demonstration. Let's say I want to create a variable called subject, and the subject that I am interested in is maths. And then I press enter. And let's say that I am interested in the grade that was obtained for this subject. And let's say that the grade that was obtained is 70. So I have these two commands inside of this cell. Now what I can do is to run the cell. So once we are inside the cell, once the cell is active, we can click on the run button and that executes the cell. So what I've done now is I have created two containers, one called subject, one called grade. Inside of the subject container, I have the value max, and inside of the grade container, we have the value 70. Now let us see if those values are actually stored. So I'm using a command called print, and let's say that we print the content of grade. So I'm using the command print. I want to print grade. I'm going to execute this cell. Note, it is the second cell that is now active. So when I hit the run or the play button, then it's going to execute the command that says print grade. And what am I seeing when I print the grade? I'm seeing that it gives me the value 70, which tells me that the container was created properly because I had stored the value 70 inside of this grade container. Now I'm using the word container, but the correct terminology is a variable. So I have created a variable called the grade, and I have initialized the variable with the value 70. So 70 is the value, and I'm using that value to initialize or to put a starting value inside of the grade variable. I can do something similar in terms of interacting with subject to see what is inside of subject. So it is print. So it is print, and I can print subject. Now remember, we have to execute. If we don't execute, the command does not run. So let's execute by clicking the play button. And we're seeing that the content of subject is indeed maths. So we have just done something very important here. We have understood how to create variables, how to populate the variables, and how to display the variables. So it's three concepts: how to create variables, how to populate variables, and how to display variables. Any questions? All right, so Dante is saying that it's clear, and I'm not hearing any other comments, so I'm assuming that everybody's okay, because I know that if you are not okay, then you will let me know. So this is an important concept: the creation of variables, the population of variables, and the ability to display variables. So watch me now. I want you to create a variable. As a matter of fact, let me type it. All right, so there is the instruction. I want you to be able to create variables to store first name, last name, and age. I want you to populate these variables, and then I want you to display the content of these variables onto the screen. I give you about 5 minutes to get that done. And then for those who are having challenges, I'll ask you to share your screen so that we can see what is happening on your end. So 5 minutes to complete this activity.
Sir, I did yours, and when I did the print, capital letter for print, or does it matter if I use capital letter
Come
P?
on.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
come
my
on,
error
letter.
instead. Yeah, that's a good indicator. Tell the rest.
Yeah, man. So case sensitive. So that is part of the syntax.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
since I did yours, I need to do the one you just instructed.
Absolutely. It is the practice that makes perfect.
So take out what me already do and do yours.
Just create some more cells and do it in there. So
Okay,
leave
okay.
what you have because I want you to have the notebook saved with what you have done so that when you're going back over for your reference, for your review, you have it inside the notebook.
Okay. One variable first name. Let me write this off because I have to switch screen. On a button and minute one. Variable to store first name. First name and one to
By the way, Christine, you never get back to me, so you can give me a status check now, please. When you say the first command, what you mean QN? I'm not sure what that means. Share screen so I can see what's happening, please, Kuwait. And then after we finish with you, then Christine, share your screen.
Sorry, I see the screen.
Yeah,
That me see a load up on it.
yeah, man. So it look like your machine extremely slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just have to go give it some time for it to finish the installation, all right?
All right then.
Yeah, man. Cool. All right, Christine, you can go ahead and share. Um, type Python dash dash version.
Sir, can you repeat that for me, please? Because I'm having a similar problem as Christine is having.
Type Python space dash dash version.
Thank you.
You have to type so I can see what's happening on your screen, Christine. Yeah, so no, don't close that. Right where you are. Yes, right there.
Yeah,
So
I wasn't hearing what you were saying. Type Python,
Python space
right?
space dash dash version. Enter. Yeah, so you did not install Python or something went wrong with the installation. So you have to go back through and install Python. So let me see how you install Python the first time. Turn that down, please. Yes, Christine, walk me through the process to install Python. I'm not seeing any movement on your screen, so I don't know if
You're not seeing what I'm doing?
no, because it's stuck on the terminal.
You have to share the whole.
So share the entire screen, not just a tab, not just a window, the entire screen. So that as you do
Yeah,
different
sorry.
things, I can see.
Yeah, I
What's
just
happening.
disconnected the other computer.
And if anybody having similar challenges, please stop and have a look at what we're doing here, because maybe something that we're doing can assist you. Yeah,
Are you
so you need to
seeing?
install Python. So how did you go about installing Python? Show me a step.
Oh, installing Python. Okay,
Yes.
hold on. Uh,
So you need to go to your browser.
what's that?
You need to go to your browser. Web browser.
Google Chrome
or
or Microsoft Edge.
I'm seeing that you
PowerShell.
have Microsoft Edge right there. So go to Microsoft Edge. I don't know if you have Chrome. Move your cursor to the left, and you see Microsoft Edge right under your Zoom icon. You hearing me?
So I'm hearing you, but Christine seemed to be out of sync.
Yeah, it seems so. Who had the same issue like Christine?
I'm struggling to hear you, sir. The audio is extremely low and it goes in and out.
Is that the general consensus of everybody that my audio is poor?
No, sir. I hear loud and clear, sir.
I am hearing loud
Okay.
and clear too.
All right. So it means that it might be some on your end then, David.
David,
Yeah, I'm checking.
you not get through.
Because I missed the first part,
All
the
right, I'm going to
installation
call you
from
then,
Google.
David. Let me call you.
All right, cool.
All right. So while Courtney assists David, are you back, Christine? All right. Christine look as if she dropped off. Yeah, well, if you have bad internet, then I suggest that you try and get as much as you can get as I go through. And then when the recording is there, you just take your time, go through the recording and ensure that you get up to speed before the next class. All right, Jelani? Yeah, man, not a problem.
I'm hearing, yeah, I'm hearing you. Just that the internet is in and out for a couple of weeks. So,
Yeah, man, understood. So I'm giving you the solution.
oh, when this on Zoom recording, it's on OLS, same.
I will put it there. So once I upload it,
Oh,
then just watch it, follow through,
right.
get up to speed before the next class.
Thanks.
Yeah, man, not a problem. All right, so Christine seems as if she has dropped off, but just for anyone else who has similar problem, if it tells you that Python is not seen, then it means that something went wrong in the installation phase. So you have to go back and install Python. So let me reshare my screen. And you should be seeing back my screen now. What I'm saying is your first step is to go to python.org/downloads. And once you're there, then you want to get an installation package that will enable you to download Python. So if you're working on Windows, then you can get the standalone installer, which is right here. And what this will do, or should do, is to download some file to your machine, whether an exe file or something similar. And then once it is downloaded onto your machine, you're going to execute it. So double click on it to run it, give it the necessary authorization that it needs, execute it, and then that will install the Python ecosystem onto your machine. Once you have installed it, then you can check to ensure that it is installed by going to a terminal and you type Python --version and you hit enter. And you should see it coming up with the Python version that has been installed on your machine. If you have a look at my version is 3.13.5. But the current version is Python 3.14.5. So I have a slightly outdated version because I have not updated the Python that is on my machine. So just to indicate that you see the version that you have installed, and it should be good enough. Which takes us back to where we were. So we had a little activity that you were asked to do. You should create a variable to store your first name, your last name, and one to store your age. You want to populate these variables, and then you want to display the content of the variables onto the screen. So I'm going to do all of that in this cell. So fname is equal to, let's say, Bob. Lname is equal to, let's say, Smith. And age is equal to, let's say, 42. And then I can print fname. I can print lname. And I can print age. And once I've done all of that, let me get rid of the empty spaces. I'm going to run this cell, execute this cell, and we're seeing the output displayed right there. Bob Smith, 42. So I have just created 3 variables, one for fname, one for lname, one for age. So I trust that we are okay with this. Let me know if there are any concerns, please.
Yes,
Question,
sir.
Ryan?
Yeah. So I did that, but the order that I did it as I realized that if you have it as caps or command letters or anything else, if you change it up when you put the print command, it's not gonna print. It's gonna say something about invalid. So you have to use it as is when you're printing it. Because I just realized that. So if you make a mistake in the print command, so if you change up, you miss like the E for the first name, and it say, oh, that's not recognized. like I said, print first name, and it say, oh, that's not recognized.
Yeah, so I touched on that a little bit earlier because Courtney had raised the issue, and I'm saying that this language is case sensitive. So the print command, we want that to be in lowercase, and also the way in which you spell your variables. That's the same way you have to call them. It's just like you and you have your name, right? And let's say your name is White. Your last name is White. White could be spelled White, or it could be spelled Hyte. And you would want to ensure that you spell your last name correctly. So you would ensure that if it needs an I, you would put an I. If it needs a Y, you would put that Y. In a similar manner, when we create these variables, we need to be cognizant of the kind of spelling that we are using and whether or not we're using uppercase or lowercase letters.
Sir,
And this
excuse
is
me.
all part of the syntax.
Sir, excuse me. You can let in Christine, please.
Sure. All right. Yeah, so in other words, syntax matters, and that's one of the reasons why I had spoken about syntax at the very beginning. We have to follow the rules which are available within the language so that we can create valid sentences. And if the rules are violated, then it means that the sentences are going to be ill-formed, and as such, they are going to give us errors. So all of this is the learning process where we figure out some of these as we go along. So it's part of the process.
Trial and error.
I call it learning. All right. So I'm going to do something slightly different. I am going to print in a different way. And this is what we call an F string or a formatted string. So let me go back to my code here. We know that we have F name, L name, and age, and we just print them Bob Smith 42 in different lines. Ideally, I want to have all of this in one line. For example, my name is Bob Smith and my age is 42. I want to print that in one line. So I'm going to make use of a formatted string, F string for short, in order to do that. The variables have already been created in cell 4. So in cell 5, I'm simply going to write the command that will display the content. So here goes print, and print takes an open and close parentheses as part of its syntax. Then to signify an F string, we type F followed by an open quote and an ending quote. And within that open quote and ending quote, and I'm just expanding it, so you can see that we're going to put things in between those two double quotes. I am going to write the message. that I want to display. So my name is, and I want it to print Bob Smith. So Bob is stored inside a variable. So the variable I'm going to place inside of these curly brackets, F name. Then I also want L name. And my age is, and then there's a variable called age. And then I will get rid of all the extraneous spaces. And then I'm going to execute this cell, and we are going to have a look at what the output is going to be. And I want you to have a look at the output. My name is Bob Smith.
Sir.
Please note that on line 5, there's nothing called Bob, there's nothing called Smith. Those are variable names, and those variable names having the values Bob and Smith.
Sir.
And my age is 42. Once again, the 42 is being taken from the age variable. And we use the formatted string, the F string, so that we can print the content of variables as well as other important messages that we want to display to the user. All
Sir,
right.
look at it, sir.
1 minute. I'm just going to ask
Sir.
you, 1 minute, please, 1 minute. I'm just going to ask you that when you have your question, just jot it down if I'm in the middle of an explanation.
All right, sir.
Yeah, man. And then when we finish, you just ask the question and I can handle it. Yeah, so go ahead now.
I was saying the F and it said print open home bracket F. What does the F stand for again? Is it first?
The F represents a formatted string. I
While
want to print a string where I'm formatting both variables as well as other pieces of text. That is important. So it's
the
called a
F
formatted string.
formatted string. So you have to put the F if you want to print everything in one line. The word letter F.
The short answer to that is yes. So
Okay.
let us try it now. I'm going to get rid of the F. I like to demonstrate. So let's get rid of the F. And then let's run. What is different?
It basically gave about the same thing. It didn't compile or run. It didn't run.
Well, it runs. If it never run, would I get an error message? So it runs.
Well, that's true.
But it didn't do the
But,
variables.
but it did not print the value of the variables. It just print the variable name. But we want to get the value of the variables, not the variable name. And that is why we therefore use the formatted string. So when I put back the F and I re-execute, wherever it sees a variable name, it's going to replace that variable name with the value. And please remember that the variable name has to be placed inside of these curly braces. That is a part of the syntax.
All right, sir.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Sir, I did one before representation, but then I did a print with all of them in a line just the same, but it just gives the first name, the last name, and thing. But we just use a comma as separator.
Yeah, so there are multiple ways of skinning the cat. I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it this way because this way has more versatility. Give me a second, folks. Yes, Dr. Barry. Okay, but no problem because they had said that there was none when they checked their thing. Yeah. No, because they have until what, the 16th, it was said. So they're still working on it. That's what the email has said. For the pitch, a maximum of 3. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for the paper, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this goes for both the, okay. Okay. All right. I will work accordingly. Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Which one? Which one are the good? The pitch? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's 5 people in the research group, but 2 had indicated that they were willing to go and present. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. No problem. Thanks for the updates. All right, then we'll do. Yeah, thanks. All right, sorry, I am back. I had to step off for a little while. So, was there any other questions? Any other concerns about what we just did? All right, and the silence tells me that everybody is comfortable. Now, I can't overemphasize the need to practice and practice and practice and practice. As I mentioned earlier, this is a practical course. Practical course. All right, so you saw that out, then Dante. Yes, syntax is important. If you leave off a double quotes, you get a syntax error. If you leave off one of these curly brackets, you get a syntax error. So we have to be very, very precise in what it is we are doing. And the only way we develop competence with the language is by practicing getting these errors, figuring out what we did wrong, and making the necessary adjustment. Yeah, so this is part of the process, ladies and gentlemen. All righty. So let me have a look at some operators. So we have arithmetic operators, so we can apply these to numbers. We can add, subtract, multiply, and then there are several cases of division. So these three that we're looking at here, maybe I should even make this a little bit bigger. So these three are division. And the final one here is exponentiation. So we're raising something to a power. So let's test out some of these in the next segment. So these are the arithmetic operators. All right, so let's say number one. By the way, let me do it this way. Or maybe I shouldn't use such big numbers, right? Let me use 1, 2, and 3. So these are the numbers. Let's run these to see if we have any errors. So everything went fine. And you would notice that I've done something slightly different here. I have created the variables, but I've also indicated the type of values that I anticipate is going to be stored inside of these variables. So these are called data types. So if we go back to our sort of note set that deal with definitions,
Integers.
we're saying that a data type is some keyword that allows us to define data based on the characteristics of the data. So what we are storing here are integers, as was rightly stated by Sir Courtney. So we're telling the computer that the container num1 or the variable num1 is supposed to hold an integer value. That's what we're saying here. And we're also populating these variables. So num1 has 1, num2 has 2, and num3 has 3. So let's say we now have a variable called sum. And we say that sum is equal to num1 plus num2 plus num3. And we execute that cell. And then my question is, what value do you expect to see in sum when we print? Just type in the chat. What value should we see in print, in sum, when we print? I'm going to print sum.
6, bossy.
All right, so I hear a person saying 6.
I don't know
Let
how
me
to
see.
do it, but I use my calculator, check it.
All right. So let's see if that is correct, right? So we print sum and we get 6. So what we are seeing here is that the addition operator works as we expect it to work, which is good. So if the addition works, then I mean, we know that the subtraction going to work, right? For example, I can say print sum minus 2. And I know that you anticipate that the answer is going to be 8, correct? You should have answered by now, you know.
How was that, sir?
I said when I print some -2, the answer is supposed to be 8.
No,
So what is your answer?
4.
All right. So sum is 6. 6 minus 2, that gives us 4. Correct, Ian. I see the type that in the chat long time. So there we go, 4. And we could also do a multiplication, right? So print, and I know this one going triple now, sum times 2. And what is the answer for that? Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. Dante said 12.
8 times 2, 12.
Courtney said 12. What the other person said? All right, so everybody's saying 12. So let's see if 12 is correct. So it's 12 because sum was 6. It has not changed. So it is 6 times 2 that gives us 12. And this is an important point as well. Once we put a value in a variable, it stays there until we change it. So if we don't change it, it doesn't matter how many lines of code execute after that. It's going to still remain the same. The only time it changes is when we update it, modify it, we change it. So that's an important consideration for you to have. So we have taken care of the plus, minus, and the multiplication. So it's now time to have a look at the division. Well, let me do the exponent first. So let's say print 3 star 2. And what value do you expect that this should give us? Type in the chat. You must type in the chat. You must have executed first. You have to be honorable people. So just stop what you expect it to be. 3 star 2. So nobody knows what exponentiation means.
3 to the power of 2.
All right, so 3 to the power 2 is what?
6. 3, 3, 9.
That is 9. So 3 times 3 give us 9.
I don't like
All
much,
right.
but these are simple.
All right, good. So we can now talk about the difference between the division operators. So let's print 5/2. And let's look at what the answer is. So that's 2.5. And let's print 5/2.
2.5.
And that's 2.
That's wrong.
So I want, no, it's not incorrect, sir.
Oh, decimal place.
So we need to understand the concept of syntax and semantics. So the syntax is correct, which means that the semantic or the meaning is different. So I want you to tell me in your own words what you think the difference between 1/ is as opposed to /.
Sure, repeat that.
I want to know the distinction between the two operators. I have demonstrated them for you. You have seen the output. So how would you describe what each one does? Or in other words, how would you describe the meaning of each of these two operators? What makes them different?
Sir, one gives a whole number and the other one will give you one decimal place. The answer to one decimal place.
All right, excellent. I will take that. It's not just
Yeah,
one
but it
decimal.
would be 3.
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. No, 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 no. Please, you have to go by what you see, not what you think. So one of them is an integer division, which means it just gives you the integer component and it does not give you the decimal component. So 5 divided by 2, or put it this way, 2 into 5 goes 2 times. So if it is that you're only interested in the integer component, it will just give you the 2 alone. And that is the double slash. But if it is you are interested in the real number, and the real number means it contains a decimal portion as well, then it means that in this case we would get 2.5. But in another case we would get, let me just show you. So let's say 1 divided by 3. Notice that it gives more than 1 decimal point. So the point I'm making here is that it will give you the appropriate decimal points based on how wide the computer says that decimal is to be expressed as. Because we know that 0.333 is a recurrent decimal, so it can go to infinity. But in our machine, we can't represent infinity. So there's going to be some cutoff points that it will stop at. So up to whatever maximum that is, it will show us the decimal places up to that point. So the short thing is, if you want the decimal point, you use 1 slash. If you're only interested in the integer portion, then you use 2 slash. I think that should be clear. And then what about this? I'm going to show you what the output is, and then you tell me what it does.
%3 of 5.
No, that's not what it means. Remember, I said that all 3 of these are division operators, all 3. All these 3 are division operators. You know what? You explain what 2 of them has done so far. So I no need to tell me what you think the last one does, which is the percent sign, based on what you're seeing here. Let me do our next one. Hopefully you can see some sort of a pattern.
It gives the remainder.
Absolutely, 100%. So this is what we call the modulus operator. It gives the remainder. So one of them gives the integer, one of them gives the remainder. So in other words, 3 into 5 goes 1 time. How much remains? 2. In other words, I can get one group of 3 out of 5. And then I'm going to have 2 elements standing by themselves because they cannot be grouped into a group of 3. If I look at 5 mod 2, then this says I can get 2 groups of 2 out of 5. And how much is going to be left? 1. And that one cannot form a group of 2. So that's why we have 1 left. So this is the modulus operator. So these are the three examples of the division operator that we are looking at within this particular language. All right, great. Now, I'm going to wrap up shortly because, we have covered a chunk of material, and I'm going to want you to go back through and practice some of these things that we have done today. But I want you to get an experience of something that kind of look real to life. So I'm going to introduce the input operator, because the challenge with what we have been doing so far is we are the ones who have been entering the values. And when I say we, I mean we as the programmers. We have been determining what the values are. But if we are going to write an application, it must be the user who determines what these variables are, the inputs to these variables are. So I'm going to show you how we can get that done by making use of the input command. So here goes. So input, enter num1. And let us store this inside some variable. Let's call the variable x. And below that, I'm going to say y is equal to input, enter num2. And let us now execute this. So it says enter num1. Notice a box comes up where we can enter the value. So let's say 20. And we hit enter, the enter key. Now it says enter num2. Let's say that is 5. And let's say enter. So the user has now entered 20 and 5. 20 going into num1 and 5 going into num2. Now remember, where are we storing this num1? We're storing it inside x. Where are we storing this num2? We're storing it inside of y. Therefore, if I now say print x plus y, then I'm sure that you are going to say that the answer is going to be 57. Correct?
25. So you're bright,
Okay. Well, Uno said 25. Let's check that to see if that is correct. And we're seeing that we have a challenge. It is not 25, it is 205. And I know I'm going to say, but sir, what went wrong? And this is an important teaching experience now. Whenever you use the input command, the value that you enter is stored as a string. I'm going to say this 2 more times because it is that important. Whenever we use the input command, the value that you enter is stored as a string. So one more time. Whenever you use the input command, the value that you enter is stored as a string. So you thought that I had just entered 20, but what I have entered is 20. Therefore, when I add them, I'm really adding this.
Them.
There you go. So this is really what just happened a while ago. It's 20 a string plus 5 a string, give us a concatenated string with 205. So just demonstrate it again using it in a different way. But you are going to say to me, but sir, I want to be able to add 20 and 5 as numeric values. And I'm going to say to you, well, if that
Indicate
is what you
integers.
want to do, then you need to convert X and Y into integers. And there's a command that does it called int. So notice I'm saying convert X to an integer, and I'm also saying convert Y to an integer. So let's re-execute that cell, and now you're seeing what you anticipate, 25. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a common error. Students often forget that whenever you use the input command, the value that is entered is stored as a what?
A row.
A string. It is stored as a string. So
Sir,
please,
sir,
I don't want you to forget that.
couldn't the indicator of the variables be indicated that you actually inputting an integer? It couldn't do from up top.
You mean when you define the variables?
Right. Where you
All
say
right. So
x equal integer input whatever.
all right.
Or enter integer num1. Or
All right. So Python don't really work like that. It is, there are some languages which are typed, meaning it is very strict. When you indicate what the data type is, then it will do some checks for you in the background. Python don't really work like that. Python is what we call a loosely typed language. And because it is loosely typed, then you can store any value inside of any variable. This is one of the challenges with it. So even though it's the message up here, so num1 should be an int. This is just like a decorator that allows the programmer to have an understanding of what the value is supposed to be. The programming language itself don't even pay that much mind because this is a loosely typed language. If it were a strongly typed language like C++ or C, then by doing this, there would be some type checking done in the background for validation purposes. But Python does not typically operate like that out of the box. So the implication is you who write in the program must always do your validation for yourself. And that is why we are using the command int to explicitly convert what has been entered by the user into an integer. Now, another way in which we could have done this, and probably the more common way, is at the point that we do the input, we do the conversion. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to get rid of the, I should be able to create a new cell. So I'm going to insert a cell above. So I now have an empty cell. I don't want to remove this cell that I have here. And I'm just going to print X plus Y like we had it before. And I'm just going to show you that everything still works like we anticipate. So let's run. So 20 and 5 And then if I print x plus y, we're going to get 205. 205. But what I was saying earlier is instead of doing the conversion after, the common pattern is to do the conversion at the point that we do the input. So I would say int, and I wrap the input with the int. What does this mean? It means get the number or get the input, and then you convert it to an integer, and then you store that inside of x. And I'm going to do the same thing for y.
Wasn't that what I was saying before, sir?
No. What you were saying was this, which is why I went back up here.
No, I was referring to that one before, the last one you were doing. I'm not on that page.
No, but you couldn't be referring to that because there was no concept of doing it up there. So what you had said is,
No, my thing was about the result of the input. That's what I was saying. If we couldn't do it up there, put the indicator there. Not right where you are now, not where you are on the screen,
Okay. I didn't get that from what you were asking.
No, man, that's what I
Because
was saying. I was saying, why is it we didn't indicate that the input would be an integer?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So this is where you would indicate that you want your variables to store integers, unless that's not what you're talking about.
No, I was
As I
talking
had done
about the
this before.
input, the ones you put in. What it requests an integer variable, so it doesn't change. It reads what is put in. It reads what it requests. So when you do the calculation, it would already be saying it was already inputted as an integer, not up here,
Yeah, but you see, all right, if you talk about integer and variable, then this is what you're talking about. And you just mentioned it again. And when you go back and listen to the recording, you just said integer and variable. This is where we have created the variables. So if you talk about integer and variables, then I'm going to be
it would be that section.
Assuming that it's up here.
No, I was speaking of the other section.
Now down here, what we are doing is we are converting the input into an integer. It might sound similar, but there are slight nuances to that. So the input by default is always going to be a string. But I can convert the input into an integer, and then I store the integer inside my variable. So I hope you understand the slight nuance that I am trying to illustrate in both cases. All right, so I think we had just entered these values, so I think we can now print x and y. No, so I didn't enter the values. So let's go back here. So it's 20, enter, 5, enter, and then I print x and y, and now we see that it gives me the 25. Why? Because I have converted the input into an integer in both cases. So instead of this being 20, this is now 20. And so it's 20 and the 5. When I add them together, it will give me 25. All right. Any questions, any clarifications, any concerns?
Sir, I am still having, I've uninstalled the Python that I did reinstall, and I'm still having issues.
Well, you have to show your screen so I can be sure that you read it, install it. All right, so everybody's saying that them good so far. All right, before I let you do that, Christine, let me set a question for everybody to do, and then you can share your screen and we see what is happening on your side. All right, so that's what I want you to attempt for your homework. You're going to create a simple calculator that accepts two integers from the user. And having accepted the two integers, you're going to display one being the product of the two integers, and the second one being the result that you get if you take the first number and you raise it to the power of the second number. In other words, if you have 3 and 2, then you should find 3 squared as the second value, and you should find 3 times 2 as the first value or the first out. So take a screenshot of this quickly, please, so that they can have it. And you'll be working on that for the homework, and then I will allow Christine to share her screen so that we can see what is happening on her end. Once you have gotten the assignment.
Well, I forgot to have a screenshot.
Print screen. And then it should be able to paste it in Word or something similar. I don't know about Python from the Microsoft Store, but you have to do what works for your configuration. No? But Kevin, if I were you, I'd afraid of Microsoft Store. No?
I just see it earlier, right? And it did show that it has the up to date one, which was 3.14, if I remember correctly. That's why I asked you. So
Okay.
I was just wondering if it can be used or if it actually up to date enough it can be used.
Well, any version they get, you should be able to use. I mean,
Okay.
all right. So I think by now everybody should have that. So I'll allow Christine to share now, so we can see what's happening on her machine. So I'm going to stop sharing so that Christine can share.
Sir, are you seeing the download history?
Give me a second.
Christine, there's a
No, click on the download arrow. Pop. Yeah, right there. All right. Why you download one for AMD? Is that AMD configuration you have?
I don't know, sir.
All
sir.
right.
There's an install manager on the site. That's the one I asked David to use. That one will automatically determine and install.
So go back to the Python side.
Hers look different. Click on downloads. The term right. See download Python install manager. Click on that.
The yellow button.
That comes on quick, so it will download the right one through that. Boy, our internet slow too.
We're not slow enough because this is a Zoom class. Eat up bandwidth.
Yeah, so execute that now. You had shared the screen, right? And not just a window, correct? You have stopped sharing, Christine. Not seeing anything. Christine? Christine, you hearing me? Christine, drop off again. Courtney.
It looks so, sir. It looks so. It looks because I'm not seeing her screen.
Yeah,
Nor
Courtney.
her. Yes, sir.
You probably have to go shout her and assist her, like how you assist
David.
David. Yeah.
But me no really have no number for she.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, David, them were in groups before, so they had my contact. Oh, maybe I can find it in the group. Oh, hold on. Yeah, if she's in it. I think I can find it. Like
All
that
right
one.
then. So we will terminate now, and
Yeah,
then
man,
we'll
I have
try
an
and see
idea
if we
about this
can.
programming thing, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
Because I've been coding in Python for years now.
mm.
Okay. So you can teach a class with then, Jelani.
The teach, but kind of rusty. I mean,
So
you
Hold
remember?
on. No,
he was
Christine not in our
asking
background.
for you. So you want to try coming back? I'm gonna tell him to let you in. Yeah.
Oh, David, you help her.
Yeah, she want to come back in. So sir, you can let her in, please.
Sir Scarlett.
I'm not seeing her in the waiting room. Hold on.
Yeah, Neil, let me hear you, sir. No, we're
I'm not seeing Christine in the waiting room.
She having some serious connection issues.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, man, we're here.
Boy, I'm
um,
having internet issues.
Did
most
you
digital
install
internet
Python
in the
now?
pod.
Um, where am I now? Yes, so it is the where am I? It said where am I? Yeah. No, that's not it. It was saying something. I was reading a message to David. It was saying something that PY was
But to your file folder,
installed. I
Christine.
don't know where I am.
Yeah, Christine, go to the file explorer.
Okay. Are you seeing this, sir? Are you seeing this, sir?
What I'm seeing is Zoom.
Hello?
What I'm seeing is a Zoom screen.
No, hold on.
Your sound really distorted though.
Are you seeing it now?
Christine, you're sounding really, really distorted. I heard you speaking to David earlier. Can David call you and walk you through, similar to what Courtney did?
Saying the legacy keyword command is still installed. And that this may interfere with in launching the new keyword command and may be resolved by uninstalling Python launcher. And then it has a question over install app, so yes or no.
I won't be able to
Yes,
help
yes,
you
yes. You're
without
supposed to do
seeing.
yes, yes for all of them. It didn't finish install then.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes for all of them.
Okay.
And it's going to go through a long process because I think it's sucking from the internet when it's installing.
Yes, okay.
You're getting some action now, Christine.
Why forget it just took me to the install app.
So you go.
Oh. Because the global shortcut directory is not configured. Configuring this enables commands like Python 3.314.exe to run your terminal, but it's not needed for the Python or Py command.
Yes.
We can add the directory. Okay, so I just put, so we can add the directory to pass now, but you will need to restart your terminal to use it. The entry will be removed if you run CY uninstall purge, or else you can remove it manually when uninstalling Python. Add command directory to your path now, yes or no?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
All of the prompts you answer yes.
If not, you can use py install the file. Yeah, I guess yes for that too. It says, okay, it is installing, okay.
So it's installing now.
You see some
Right.
red indicator lines are orange.
Option, if you say usage, py, regular Python option, py, tag, py, -2 version, find additional information at HTTPS, I guess the Python website, view online help, yes or no? Okay, so on the top it says configuration check completed. To run these checks again, launch Python install manager from your start menu or py install -- configure from the terminal. And then it has below it all the stuff that I just said. David?
Yeah, I'm waiting on the maestros to answer you.
No, this maestro can't answer, because he's not seeing what is happening. Matter of fact, this is not even maestro. So here's what I recommend. Use all of the defaults and see what that brings.
I'm trying to figure what was the last screen after the install.
I use all of the defaults.
The default?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I guess it's yes for everything.
It what?
Maybe yes for everything.
Yeah, but the next thing it says is view online help, yes or no. That's what I'm getting, yes or no. What sort of put the yes for this and continue?
So if you say yes, it's going to take you to online help. Put no and see where it take you.
What?
Answer no to it and see where it take you.
Okay. Okay. And to close it. Okay. No.
We are function like the three blind mice. You can't share about the screen, Christine.
Yeah, and Courtney.
What is it, James?
Is it Mr.
Share.
Scribe asked if you can share back the screen with them, see what's going on. And share the full screen.
Manage to do the installation. But I'll try again.
All right, when it finishes, it's supposed to take you back to the prompt. After it come back to the prompt, then that's it. But yes to everything.
What Courtney just said?
When it finishes, it's supposed to take it back to the command prompt. So yes to
Try command
everything.
prompt again.
No, when the installation is finished.
Oh, it should have brought it back to the command prompt.
Yeah.
Right. It run a whole series of things. But I don't think it finishes as quick as your indicator. So it's supposed to still be running.
Yeah, my one's still running.
Oh, so mine should have ended.
Yeah.
And then after that part of it is completed, then you go back to that terminal that you were on and you utilize the command Python install command, install the notepad. And then when you run it, the other command is to run it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to just uninstall because in the apps I'm seeing I default Windows Python and I default Python. So I'm going to uninstall both of them and go back to what Corey asked me to do. And see if it
Oh, so you didn't take them off before?
Mm-hmm. So like probably I don't know the previous Python download some of the repos and we install.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I guess sir terminate class now.
Alright.
Sir Scarlett.
Yeah, man, I'm here, but I can't help if I can't see. I don't have any
Yeah, it's a blank.
reference point.
So
So I would
we just
suggest that you
indicate that you
try.
call me or David and so on.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend.
So are we
And
terminating
then,
now?
yeah, man, so I'll be terminating now and keep me updated so I can know what's happening.
Yeah, man, it's a simple thing.
All right, then. Gentlefolks, manners.
Alright. Evening. Have a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, man, bless up.
Evening.